I just broke up with the love of my life because of his disabled brother. I've been with my boyfriend Daniel on and off for about 10 years. We were high school sweethearts who broke up when he went into the army and reconnected after he was discharged. Since day one of our relationship, his brother, Peter, has been a problem. They had a fairly traumatic childhood, deadbeat dad and emotionally unstable/abusive mother, and Daniel took on a lot of the caregiving tasks for his younger brother, 5-year age gap. He said from day one that being there for his brother was his priority, and if I wanted to date him, I would have to accept it. I was a little weirded out, but I don't think I fully understood that I was signing up to always come in second. Just as an example, when we were in high school, he stood me up on the day I decided to sleep with him to see his brother's school play. Like what 17-year-old boy would rather see a middle school production of Les Mis than get laid for the first time? But that's how it's always been. The second time we broke up, it was after his discharge, because Peter was in an abusive relationship with some guy who got him addicted to pain meds, and Daniel basically said that he didn't need me and my son distracting him because he was trying to save his brother's life. We didn't speak for almost a year because I was so pissed that he would just abandon us like that. Well, Daniel was able to help Peter get clean and Peter's ex ended up in jail on drug charges. Daniel is a cop, so he was able to ensure Peter wasn't charged and even paid for a treatment program. After that, Peter went back to school to finish his degree. I probably should have walked away then, but Daniel is such an unbelievably great guy. He's a hard worker, he's great with my son, and he has so many wonderful qualities. So I reached back out, and we started talking again. He told me that he wasn't going to apologize for dropping everything to save Peter's life, but basically said sorry if it hurt you, and I was willing to accept that. So we moved back in together. 2 years pass and all is well. Peter comes over every weekend with his girlfriend. They're both gay, but Peter's mom is very traditional, and I accept that even though it means that my son and I basically have no private family time with just Daniel. Peter finished his degree and was about to start a master's degree in social work. Things are finally back to normal. Then he gets hit by a car. It wasn't his fault. The driver was texting and didn't see him. But I'm still so angry. We were eating breakfast when Daniel got the call, and he lost his legs when he heard the news. He was crying so hard I could barely understand him. I had to get my son to school and drive him to the hospital because he couldn't drive in his condition. He was almost catatonic on the drive over. The doctors were very doubtful that Peter would survive the initial surgery, but he did. Then he was in a coma for 3 days. On the rare occasions that I was able to convince Daniel to get some sleep or eat something, he insisted I stay with Peter and call him if something happened. I'm ashamed to admit it, but I sometimes fantasize about him dying because at least it would all be over and we could start to heal. When he emerged from the coma, he wasn't awake. The doctors said he was in a vegetative state, so he could either get better or just stay like this forever. In this state, he wears diapers and has to get fed through a tube. Daniel has to watch him and bathe him and basically care for him 24/7. He quit his job, without consulting me, and moved in with Peter's friend because our apartment didn't have room for Peter, so we don't even live together anymore. When I suggested that we look into residential care options for Peter, we got into the worst fight we've ever been in. He said that those places have a low standard of care, that he didn't want his brother to be scared and surrounded by strangers, even bringing up that story about the lady in a coma that got pregnant at some hospital, saying that he would never forgive himself if his brother was roped and couldn't tell him or ask for help. I said that sounded like something out of Law and Order SVU, but he wouldn't even consider it. I don't want to live with Peter and I don't want to live apart from Daniel, so we're basically at an impasse. Peter can't walk or talk, but he often shakes and cries, which scares my son, so he hasn't even seen Daniel in weeks. I think Daniel could be the love of my life, but I don't think there's anything left to salvage. I texted him last night if he wanted to give up all of our plans to live like this for the rest of his life, and he told me to go duck myself. I can't talk to anyone about this because I know how selfish it sounds, but I feel like I can't even mourn this relationship or come to terms with all the time I wasted because everything is still all about Peter.